With this video, Jamelisse and Marlene would like to inform people about Afro-Latinos who have made an impact in our lives and share personal stories. Questions will be asked and answered. Roberto Clemente is an Afro-Puerto Rican national baseball player. He was the first Latino to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Sammy Davis Jr. is Cuban and black. He overcame prevailing racism to establish himself as an entertainment legend. He was billed as the greatest living entertainer in the world, becoming a successful comedian, actor, dancer, and singer. Pedro Albizu Campos is a Puerto Rican attorney and politician, and the leading figure in the Puerto Rican independence movement. He was the president and spokesperson of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party. Arturo Alfonso Schomberg was a historian, writer, and activist. Schomberg was a Puerto Rican of African and German descent who moved to the United States and researched and raised awareness of the great contributions that Afro-Latin Americans and Afro-Americans have made to society. Julia de Burgos, an advocate of Puerto Rican independence. She served as Secretary General of the Daughters of Freedom, the women's branch of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party. She was also a civil rights activist for women and African Afro-Caribbean writers. Felipe Luciano is a well-known celebrant of his own and other Latin Americans' African ancestry. Luciano continues to be an advocate for justice for Puerto Rican, African American, and other peoples of color. Celia Cruz is a Cuban singer and the most popular Latin artist of the 20th century, gaining 23 gold albums during her career. She received a star in the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. The U.S. President Bill Clinton awarded her the National Medal of Arts in 1994. Edgardo Armando Franco, better known as El General, is a Panamanian reggae artist considered by some to be one of the fathers of reggae español. Sammy Sosa, Dominican former professional baseball right fielder, starting his career with the Texas Rangers. Sosa became a member of the Chicago Cubs in 1992 and became one of the game's best hitters.
I'm 32 years old, chemical process engineer.
All right, so the first question is going to be, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Black History Month means a time of reflection, a month in which we can actually be acknowledged and be realized for all of the great contributions that we made to America.
Awesome. How do you feel being African American and Afro-Latino?
I mean, obviously I wouldn't trade my experience or who I am for anything in the world. I love who I am. I love the fact that I'm the representation, I feel, of the two best people in the world. I love both equally, and I feel that it's a great representation of like a macrocosm, a microcosm of the macrocosm of the bigger world as it's changing. I feel like I'm like the prototype of the changing.
Okay. How do you see yourself represented in the media, or do you feel you are represented in the media?
I actually don't see a lot of representation of us. And that's especially Afro-Latino. I don't see a lot of representation of us. I feel that the stereotype towards us as a people, as far as our heritage as Afro-Latino, a lot of it comes from the media because we're not represented. A lot of people don't even know that there's black people in various, Latin countries. So we need to work on that.
All right. So how has racism impacted your life?
I feel like a lot of people actually allow racism to create a barrier or become an obstacle to which they kind of attribute their problems to and the reason why they can't get forward. But for me personally, I actually use racism as motivation. Someone tells me that I couldn't do something or that I'm inadequate or that I'm dumber than them simply because of my color, that just makes me work even harder. And I mean, whatever I put my mind to, then I'm going to achieve it.
Okay. What would you say to your teenage self?
First and foremost, you need to listen more. You don't have all the answers. None of us do. But when I was a teenager, I thought I had all the answers. And make better decisions. Be wiser. Make much better decisions.
All right. Thank you. Hello, Blue Jays. We're here today to pretty much finish up our content for our video. And I have Jeremiah here.
Hi.
And so we're just gonna get right into it and talk about, you know, what the relationship is between the Black and Latin people. So what do you feel the relationship is like, you know?
I mean, this is definitely like a super complex situation. It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many different parts of it, so many different facets. So it's like we have to take it piece by piece. You know, I think we have to take it piece by piece, and maybe we can examine it, because it's too broad. Like, it's too big to just say like the Black and the Latin experience, or the Afro-Latin. We're more talking about like the Afro-Latin experience. Not negating anybody, but like more the Afro-Latin experience versus Blacks and the relationship there. So yeah, I mean, I guess we should probably like narrow it down a little bit.
Well, pretty much of why being Afro-Latinos, why Afro-Latinos are pretty much just now getting to saying, oh, I'm Afro-Latino. You know, like, it took, for example, what's her name?
Amanda
La Negra, to be like, oh, I'm Afro-Latina, and then it started being like, people are like, okay, so we're embracing this, okay, is this okay? You know, like, why is it now happening? And then on top of that, why are African Americans feeling offended?
I mean, right now, honestly, there's just like a really big pro-Black movement, and that's in totality. That means not just Afro-Latinos, but that's just like everybody, especially like African Americans. It's people just coming back to themselves, back to how it was like more like in the 60s and 70s. It's just a lot of pride in them as a people, and realizing they're super strong people. We come from, oh my God, we come from the worst situation, the worst settings, and then to grow and be to where you are now, to where you are, you know, literally, like, hip-hop music, rap itself is the #1 grossing music in the world. So what you have is a music that came from the descendants of African slaves, essentially, which is now like the most trendy music. You know, and so it's just being like pro-Black in general is starting to come to the forefront. Now, how does that relationship, how does that correlate, like, as far as Afro-Latinos, and why do Blacks feel maybe like a certain sense of resentment, or they get offended or something like that? I think honestly that's just mainly because for the longest time, I'll use the example of Dominicans, because I can't really say so much Puerto Ricans, but a lot with like Dominicans. When it comes to a certain issue or something and things you refer to, you could always hear like Dominican people say, well, I'm not Black, you know, I'm Latino, I'm not Black. And I think that's left a certain, like a certain, I don't know, a certain disdain or a certain bad taste in the mouths of a lot of Black people, to where they just feel like, you know, like, are you Black or are you not Black? Like, now you want to be Black, but like, were you not Black then? Because you've been Black like your whole life, so. Offended
because there's a choice, pretty much, with being.
Yeah, I mean, if you're African American, you're African American, right? But then you also got to realize, like, there's so many. Like I said, this is a very complex issue. So even within the African American community, there's colorism. You know, darker skin, people of my skin tone, my pigment, and darker are going to be treated differently than lighter skinned Black people, and that's lighter skinned African Americans. Is what we're talking about. So this all and that goes back to like slavery, and you know what they would say, like the field nigga and the house nigga. The house nigga were the lighter skin were usually the mulattoes, or the children that were born from the slave master raping the slave women, and they had a child. That child was half, and that child was raised in the house. not with the family or as part of the family, but they were treated a lot better than the people out in the field. Now you translate that to today's African American, and that's why you have colorism as a factor more, as like light-skinned black people are given better jobs. They get kind of like a pass, you know. It's more desirable to be yellow, as they say, like light-skinned. And that you got to look at that, and then that translates over into Afro-Latinos. The majority of a lot of Afro-Latinos are light-skinned, as they say, or light-skinned black people, right? So you have the choice to kind of like say, I'm not going to be black, and it's accepted. Versus someone of my skin color, we don't have that choice. You are the phenotype of being a black person. Like, you are black. You don't have a choice. This is what you are. So I think the main thing is with black people, like, if you're going to choose, don't choose to be black when it's beneficial or when it's popping, kind of, you know, like, be black all the time. When we're struggling and when we're down and when everybody's looking down and the police brutality, stand up for us, stand up all the time and be black, you know, because the basis of it is we all come from the same group of people.
Yeah. Everyone
came over here, you know, on some slave ships. I mean, I can go deeper into some other stuff, but let's just say, let's stick with that. And let's say everyone came over here on some slave ships, and there's just different points in where they drop people off at. I mean, it's kind of weird because it's like African Americans don't see Jamaicans or Haitians as any less black than them, right? But yet you see Puerto Ricans or Dominicans as less black than you, or Cubans, which is kind of weird. It's just a language. It's not.
Exactly.
Being Latino is not a race. And people need to really understand the difference between ethnicity and race.
Exactly.
Okay? There's a race. So race would be, yes, my race is black. Now, I may be of Puerto Rican descent, but my race is black. My ethnicity is Puerto Rican, or my ethnicity is Dominican, but you're still black.
Yeah.
You know, so people need to really understand the difference between ethnicity and race. They're not the same thing. And that, you know, so people gotta understand that, and I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
Why do you feel the system made that box though? Why couldn't they just keep it as black or white?
Well, honestly, this all goes back. Everything goes back to, a lot of things go back to slavery. Where you have in the Latin American countries, what you have is, let's say you were born to a Spanish and an African slave, right? You're mulatto. You're always going to be mulatto. You're always going to be black, essentially. Now, a Spanish with an Indian, or, you know, Native American, Native Carib Indian, whatever, and their child was mestizo. Now, let's say that child had a kid with another, it was a boy, and he married a Spanish woman. They had their children. After 2 or 3 generations, you could be white again, essentially. But on this side, you are always black. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're always going to be black, you know. So I think that box is there to just categorize people. And this is just generally, the problem isn't, I mean, with racism, like we categorize people in boxes. People don't fit in boxes. Everyone's their own person. Exactly. There's no way to be black, there's no way to be Latino, there's no way to look Latino, there's no way to look black, like there's no way to talk and be black. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Especially when you embrace your culture so much, there's so much rhythm. Everything in Puerto Rico comes from Africa. Everything. So it's like
Dominican Republic as well, Cuba as well. The Caribbean, South America, it all comes, everything, from the food you eat to the drum. Everything comes from
It always come or get there. Like musically, you know, and then what's that say? The music is the something, you know, with the soul. There's a saying.
Yeah, the language of the soul.
Yeah. You know, so
for sure.
It's, man, like someone like me, what you would call me, mulata or?
I mean, mulata, hincha, tabao.
You know, like
we got so many different words. You know, it's just a disclaimer. I mean, don't get me wrong. There might be like some scarce forms of racism in Puerto Rico, but I do feel that we are truly unique in the fact that we really, honestly, to this day, maybe someone can prove me wrong, but every time I'm home, I don't see racism like that. Like,
not at all.
We literally say, Boricua. And I've seen to the contrary in Puerto Rico, the black is celebrated, like to the ultimate degree.
Very. So racism in Puerto Rico it's not like how racism, there's no racism pretty much.
I mean, for the most part,
I didn't know about racism until we got together, really.
Yeah.
Because I have, people in my family is your skin color. So it's just like, I never understood it until you introduced me to another whole racism issue, right. Mainly with African American, because
it's still presently there. It's just like the same thing I used to tell you, like the saying that I always had, right, was that it could be worse, you could be black.
Yeah.
And you used to always like look at me like,
I would get bothered,
right,
as
because
well.
you didn't understand.
I didn't.
And you're like, how could it be? Until you actually like, I think we moved to Texas and then you actually realize like,
we visit encounters.
Yeah, and you're like, oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. And I mean, for all that's said and for all that's known or whatever, like, we're all black essentially in this whole equation. But it's whether people own up to their blackness, and it's whether people realize that we're all the same. Like, united we stand, divided we fall. That's a saying, but it's true. Like, all together we can be super powerful, the black and brown together, because it's come from the same group of people versus being separate. Or
questioning one another of, now you're
how
here.
Black are you, or how Latino you, like. It's just dumb. It's not.
It's getting really to a point where it's like, is the white system gotten us this way?
Yeah.
Where where we're going too much against each other. Like, they know the system.
And that's by design. That is literally within itself. That's created by them for this exact reason. Exactly. To create division. Because unity with us together, there's no one that is more powerful than black people unified. And I believe that, and no matter what you say, whatever we've already seen, proven it.
That's how I feel as well.
There's nothing more powerful. So, the second that we actually decided we're going to get this together and we're going to say, you know what, this is legitimately who we want to be. We're going to be unified. It doesn't matter where you come from. We all come from the same motherland, and we're going to be together. It doesn't matter what language you speak, but we're going to all be together.
And we're going to hold hands, and we're going to be tied.
We're going to progress forward. And at that moment, there will be nothing that anyone can do to stop us.
Exactly. Nothing.
There's nothing at all. We literally just have to get past us as Afro-Latinos. You have to own up to your blackness, okay? There's no difference between you and African Americans. The only difference is that they speak English. You have to own up to who you are and stop trying to fight it because society tells you that it's something bad. It's not bad. It makes you royal. Understand. This is something that people gotta understand. You gotta know. This is something I really want to push into people. Understand something. Understand that your Africanness, being from Mother Africa, having this phenotype, it makes you a stronger person. It doesn't make you a weaker person.
No.
We are
royalty.
That's where we've always been. That's where we will always be. We are the first architects. We were the first scientists. We were first everything. We've done everything first. We were the first humans. The phenotype of black is the first person. Okay, so a lot of diseases we are not susceptible. There's a lot of things, a lot of benefits. So many countless benefits to being who you are. There's no reason to feel inferior. We are superior, as a matter of fact. If anything, but I feel like, okay, everybody's equal, whatever, but if we're really get into scientific stuff, if that's how people try to play it or whatever, we're superior. By leaps and bounds, we're superior. And that's part of the reason why Europeans went to Africa and got slaves, because initially the native population here in the United States and also in the Caribbean, they were decimated because of disease and also because they couldn't handle the work conditions. So they went and got, we need the strongest people in the world so we can work them and they can build this new world a little bit. Who do you pick? Pick the Africans.
Strongest people in general, mentally,
all the way around,
emotionally, spiritually, physically,
in every aspect of the word. Strong, strength. That is who you are. So Afro-Latinos need to own up to that, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. And just because you don't see it represented in TV or however, whatever, we are strong and we're all black and we're all one people. And there's nothing wrong with saying that you were black and being proud of it. I mean, that's the first thing. Once we get past that, and once you establish, Afro-Latinos establish, this is who we are, we're proud of that, then we can work on the bridging the gap between African American and Afro-Latino, because it needs to happen. We're all in this side of the world, and all of these different laws and all these different policies and the way things are, racism and things, it affects us all in the same way.
Exactly.
So we all got to work together.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I think.
So I'm just gonna conclude this. Just wanted to chime in and our thoughts and everything like that, and maybe, you know, we could do another video.
For sure.
But I want to for sure put this out before the month is over with, and it was an emotional roller coaster because I wanted to make sure that this content was tasteful and just loving all the way around. So I want to thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe.
And leave comments.
Yeah.
Make sure to leave comments. If you got questions for me, anybody, you know, I want to make myself accessible. I mean, this is obviously
I'll put it in
my
the
wife.
description box.
Yeah, this is my family's page where it's not me, but if you have questions for me, or you have ways you want to know more about, one, being a black professional, or being Afro-Latino, or any questions that you have, you know, I'm always willing to answer any questions and try to be here to help people along this course. So
yeah,
thank you for having me.
Yes. So Marlene, you want to pop your head really quick before we
make sure that the camera doesn't die and that we're talking. And
thank you. You want to say bye to our viewers?
Yes. So I just want to say thank you for watching this video. This video literally took us the whole month because we want to make sure that everything is correct and right. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. And like Jeremiah said, if you guys have any questions, you guys want to interact with the video, we'd be more than welcome to interact with you guys back. And yeah.
So thanks for watching. We love you guys.
Bye.